Tuesday, everybody. This is Andy with Two Perspective Studio. Today is a special Try It Tuesday. We're going to be making a full-size fake turkey. I did this last year. Unfortunately, I didn't save the video, so I'm going to do it again. I have had a ton of requests for this. I sold lots of them last year. It's kind of a fun thing. It's a pretty easy craft. It's a little messy and it takes a little bit of time, but I don't know. I think it's worth it. I think it's pretty cool. So, hey Stephanie and Holly and Dee and Heidi, how's everybody doing today? Hey Susan, how are you? So, this is going to take a little bit of time, so I'm probably going to be on here more than an hour. And I'm seeing my comments over here just fine, so I don't think I'm even going to mess with my phone unless something weird happens. So, I'm going to show you how to put together. Now, he is not fully painted yet, but this is a Mamma Jamma turkey. Pretty big. Melissa, I already did a ham. I actually did that for Easter. It is on my YouTube. But this is, I mean, if this was a real bird, this guy would probably be like 22, 24 pounds. I mean, but right now, it's lightweight. He's squishy. He's like I said, he's not fully painted yet. This is just a base coat. That's why he looks sort of like a curry turkey. But this is the base coat that you will put on here. But I'm going to show you how to put all this together and then what to use to make this goo on top. Then after I show you that, I'm going to come back to this guy and we're going to paint him up so that he looks all roasty toasty and fresh out of the oven. So I'm going to put him away for a minute. Now you're going to need at least one odd thing for this task, which is these. Nobody uses these things anymore, right, ladies? Come on now. Who hates pantyhose? Me! Yeah, back in the day, we had to have them. We had to stuff ourselves into these things. Now, I only use them for crafting. There is no way I'm stuffing myself into pantyhose at my age anymore. No, I am revolting. No more. But for crafts, yeah, it's a great thing. So these are like a size A. These are the smallest pantyhose you can get. If you're making a smaller bird, you actually, Melissa, you asked about the ham. I did the ham for Easter. It is on my YouTube. I used the pantyhose for that as well. Just a different shape, but it's basically the same kind of thing. You can make, if you wanted to make a chicken, for instance, I'm doing some Cornish game hens with a similar, well, pretty much the same method as the turkey. It's just a smaller shape. So you can actually buy the kids' tights, you know, just the cheapo dollar store kids' tights for this same purpose. So you can make these any size. All you're going to need to do is size down your model that you're making. But for the big turkey, I use a size A pantyhose. You'll need some foam. I've been chopping this thing up for a couple of years now. This was for my daughter's college bed. Because you know, college beds are terrible. So I bought her this squishy, whatever you call it, memory foam mattress topper to go on her college bed. So I've been hacking up this thing for, like I said, a couple of years now and using it for different purposes. It's great for turkeys, hams, chickens, all this kind of stuff, making food models. So you're going to need, I guess this is probably maybe 2 inches. Let me measure this real quick. Get my measuring tape. It's probably, yeah, that's a 2-inch. So this is basically 2 pieces of the 2-inch foam. stacked on top of each other. I cut this just in this sort of shape, which is more or less the shape of the turkey. I just I took a marker and I just sort of traced it however big you want it, however big his breast section, I guess I should say, or, you know, however big you want your turkey to be. But it basically needs to be in like this egg sort of pattern, a little bit more flat off on the ends and a little more rounded on the side that you would put the stuffing in, like where his legs are going to be here. So I have 4 inches here of this stacked. I guess I need to move this. I was going to say I make side dishes to go with my turkey when I sell these on Etsy. The only one that I have to even show you is the mashed potatoes. And basically all this is I make a false bottom, glue in a board, and then put some tinted spackle on top. And I use my clay to make some butter and a little silicone glue that's colored to drizzle it on there. But these are like side dishes, Thanksgiving side dishes sort of thing. But I usually make like green bean casserole and sweet potato casserole and that kind of stuff, and it all accompanies this turkey dinner kind of thing. So I'm getting a little off here. Next thing you're going to need is a little bit of batting, or you can use polyfill, or you can use a combination of both, which is usually what I do. I try and fill it so that it's, you know, nice and plump where he needs to be, kind of thing. So if you take some polyfill and you get this around this guy, like so, try and keep your seams at the bottom area where they're not going to show as much. And you can either cut these off or you can just tuck them up, which is what I'm going to do. Just going to sort of tuck these up like that and make a little sort of a covered loaf. Stacy, we're making a turkey today. You may have seen it last year, but I don't have the video, so I'm redoing it. So this is what he looks like with just the base coat, no paint, and I'm going to show you how to construct the model. Alright, so now we need our pantyhose. And believe me, stuffing this guy in the pantyhose is almost as bad as stuffing your own hiney in it. I'm allowed to say hiney on Facebook, right? If not, I guess they'll let me know. So all you have to do basically is start at one end and stuff this thing into the panty part. And pull it up. And then you'll have to tuck your ends again, because that's going to be the up is going to be my bottom, so I'm pulling this up to get it in the panty part. I know it looks weird now. I have my pantyhose kind of crooked, so I'm going to have to sort of bring this around. It's sort of like dressing your child. I remember this. I've had 3 girls. So I remember trying to get tights on them when they didn't want to wear them, and I didn't want to put them on them, but I had to for whatever reason. Stuffing your kid in the pantyhose. Alright, let's see what we have here. Alright. So now you're going to flip them over. This is going to be your top side, and you'll want to just sort of manipulate this to where it looks like you want it to look. And it's probably best to get your seam going right down the center like that. No, not one size fits all. Alright. Getting this all haywire here. This is one of the hardest parts, is just getting all of this tucked in like it should be and then shaped. After that, it's not so hard. Alright. So you're going to use these as the turkey's legs, but you're going to cut off probably about half of it. But before I do that, I'm going to sew up this open end. And I'm probably going to need some hot glue, so let me grab my glue gun and turn that on real quick. So I've got this is an embroidery needle. It's a pretty big one. It's easier for me to use on tasks like this. But all I'm going to do, and I think I cut the band off sometimes on this, and I think I don't know, I may not do that this time. I don't know, maybe I will. I think I'll sew first though. So I'm going to sew past the band, and I'm just going to sort of pick it up, and this is just regular thread, but it's a bigger needle, and if you don't need the bigger needle, I mean it's more helpful when you're doing bigger things like this, and my hands don't work like they used to. So a bigger needle is kind of easier for me. And you can do this with hot glue. You don't have to sew it if you don't want to. I think it makes it a little cleaner looking if you sew it. The blue thing I started with is my daughter's memory foam bed topper from college. I cut it up and I use it in things like this. It's good for big meats like turkeys and chickens and hams. You can manipulate the bed foam, cover it in some pantyhose, and away you go. Now this takes a minute to do this, but it's not, not terrible. I have an extra half hour today, so I think I'm going to be okay. Like I said, doing this part, this is the hardest part of the task. And if you are skilled with a glue gun, I'm sure you could glue this all together easy. I've been burning the phooey out of myself with my glue gun lately, so I'm trying not to use it as much. They should make a nice glove for crafters who use glue guns, I think, because I am constantly burning myself. Of course, I'm kind of a spaz anyway. That's what JR says. He says I'm pretty spazzy. Today's JR's birthday, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. Happy birthday to my hubby. So when you get off to the end, you just want to sort of slip your needle under there to do some knots in it. If you're not familiar with sewing techniques as much, you can probably look that up. But you basically just take it, you scoop up a stitch, and then you stick your needle in there a couple of times, and it makes a knot automatically as you go down, and then you don't have to worry about it. Oh, let me get the scissors. Alright, so we'll keep that over there for a minute. Now I'm going to trim off some of this excess junk. So that makes it nice and neat, because that band is kind of big. I use the control top pantyhose because it's not as easy to poke your hole through it and rip it and all that stuff. So I'm going to take probably about half of this leg off. About half of this leg off. They don't have to be perfect, they don't have to be even, it doesn't matter. So I want the top to be a little puffier. So I'm going to grab some of my, you can use the batting or you can use some polyfill for this. Either one is totally fine. And I'm going to go up through the leg and I'm going to sort of stuff up into the top. Because you know turkey breast is sort of raised on the top and then flatter on the bottom. So I'm going to go back all the way to the back of him and I'm going to start putting some of this poly in there. And the reason that I didn't do it in the big cavity is just because it pushes everything down and kind of gets it out of whack. So it's sort of easier to do it this way, one side at a time, I think. But I mean, you can do it any way that you want to do it, of course. Turn that down. My blister finally fell off my thumb from where I burned the phooey out of myself with that thing a few weeks ago. But I have a dandy scar. In the crafting war room, I guess. We're full of scars. So see how just putting that batting in there sort of humped it up to look more like turkey. So I'm going to do kind of the same thing to the other side going up the other leg. Hey Marie. Now, again, I start all the way at the back and then I just sort of smooth it out around the sides. I think this should be it. And then I'll show you how to make the legs. Maybe I need just a little bit more. Alright. Hey Raymond, how are you? Alright. So this is what we have. Looks more like a turkey shape now. Got the seam down the middle, pretty much. And he's nicely shaped. So for the legs, we cut off these the ends of the pantyhose. You're going to need some dowels. They don't necessarily have to be quite this big. This is probably maybe a ½ inch. They don't have to be quite this big, but I wanted it to look like, you know, a turkey leg bone is pretty big. So I wanted it to be pretty realistic. I'm going to take some more, cut one strip. I don't have more than one, but I'm going to cut another one. Some more of that quilt batting. This is actually, the one that I have this is just the small for like crib quilts and stuff. So that's all I use, is just the small bag. But I cut a strip of that off, and I'm going to put a little glue on here. I want the end of the bone to be open, but the rest to be covered like, you know, you were eating a turkey leg. So I'm just going to attach this on here and then roll it up. And you notice my piece is not straight or anything. It really doesn't matter. You're just looking for the girth. You know, you just want to get it on there. Is it Raymond? I like Mr. Turkey. He's fun. He's messy, but he's fun. So for this size turkey, I feel like he needs a little bit more girth on his leg here. So I'm going to use some of the batting for this too. And I'm probably going to have to manipulate it again once I get it stuffed in there. But I'm just sort of going to hold it around my batting. It sort of sticks to the batting naturally just because of what these items are. They all sort of stick to each other. I'm just going to stuff that up there. Now the leg has to sort of go a little bit into his, you know, cavity there. Yes, girth. You know what girth is all about. And I'm going to sort of stick his stick a little bit in there just to make sure he's got something to hang on to. Let's see if I can. Need a little bit more stuffing in there. I want this to be a big juicy bird. Hey, Alicia. I'm making my turkey today. So then, once you have it done the way that you think he looks good, I don't know if he's got enough girth yet or not. I need to pull some of this up on my desk. You just have to kind of do it until you think he's natural looking. Alright. I think that's pretty good. Then what you're going to do with this is you're going to pull it out pretty tight, and you're going to sort of start winding this around the end of the stick. And when you get to the end, sort of pull it over the top and hang on to it. And it sort of makes, the natural shape of the end of a fowl, a turkey. Then, without burning the phooey out of yourself, you're going to start to glue this part. Now this is the hard part, because you have to kind of grab that pantyhose and pull it through the glue and then hang on to it until it starts to solidify. Now, I haven't burned myself yet, so somebody knock on some wood. Put a little down here. Oops, that fell right on my desk. And pull this around. Hold that. I have my glue gun on low, but this is one of those industrial jobbies, so the low is still pretty high. So I have to be careful with this one. Get rid of my glue boogers. Alright, so there's one leg completed. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other leg. I'm going to have to take, I had some extra batting here, so I'm just going to take a piece of this And if you don't want to mess so much with the polyfill, you can do the whole leg in batting if you wanted to. Either way works. Put a little glue on here. Get this rolling. Oops. I'm gonna add this. There we go. I wish I could face you with the turkey so that you could see better what I was doing, but I think you probably can get the gist of it. Alright. Is everybody with me so far? Everybody understand? And this isn't hard. Anybody can do this. Just gonna reposition the stick a little bit. It's just a lot of like stuffing and manipulating at this point. So it's not terribly difficult. You just want to make sure that you get it the way you like it before you seal it up, because at that point, that's it. You can't do anything about it other than start over. Alright. You need to make sure that they're pretty even, because turkeys pretty much have the same size drumsticks most of the time. Alright. So maybe you can see a little bit better with this one as I do it because it's on your side. So I've got the stick. Stuck, poking out like that, okay? And I have all this extra pantyhose. So I'm gonna sort of slide some of that batting up and pull this pretty tight, and then just start to wrap in a big long string, kind of like that. And then as I get closer to the bottom, I'm going to go toward the tip more, and then right at the end I go right on the tip so it looks like the end of the turkey drumstick. Okay? So I'm going to put a little glue here. Wrap that. Put a little more. Now I've got it kind of sort of pinched together, so it's just going to go right around that end. I'm going to pull that right up over it and hold that while it burns my thumb. There's really no easy way to do this other than just do it with the hot glue. I don't think. I mean, maybe you can come up with a better way to do it, but I have glue all over me. Alright, I think that's going to stay. So now we have that. Alright, so these other pieces that you cut off are going to make the wings that are going to go back here. Now, I usually don't have... Hi, Julie. I usually don't make the wing tips on here. I did last year, but it's kind of a pain. You have to use some heavy wire, like a clay wire kind of thing, and shape it in the how the wing tip would go, and then you have to cover it with, I covered it with foam sheet and then covered it in, this is silicone that goes on top of the turkey. So it's kind of a pain to make the wing tips. A lot of chefs, when they make fancy turkeys like this, they'll chop off the wing tips before they ever cook the turkey anyway. So that's the way I'm doing them now. I just do them with the wing and not the wing tip. But you can do it either way. So you'll need 2 more dowels, same size as for the drumsticks. And you'll put those in here to make those wing portions. So you'll need some more of the batting or polyfill. You can use polyfill for all of this. It doesn't have to be the batting. This is just sometimes a little easier than stuffing all that polyfill in there, but either way it works just fine. So I've got 2 strips, sort of. 2 pretty good strips. I'm going to put just a little glue on my dowel. Now this one can go the full length of the dowel because you're just going to sort of roll this whole thing up. You flip yours behind his back when you cook him, that's a good idea. So I'm just going to roll this whole thing up. Now that's about the size that you want right there as a wing. So I'm just going to open this up. Now this is the closed toe here, so you don't have to worry about that. Excuse me. So you just have to stick him in there and really stretch it pretty tight. Now I'm going to cut off some of this excess because you don't really need a whole lot here. And if, like I said, if you want to make the wing tips, you have this leftover piece that you can wrap around some clay wire and make the wing tip shape. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to stretch this incredibly tight, and I know I'm behind the turkey doing this, I'm sorry. But I just put some glue there, and I'm going to gather these pieces and try and stretch it over my glue, which I didn't do a very good job though. Whatever's in the back of the wing is going to be glued onto the bird, so you're not going to see that anyway, and so it won't matter. I have to put some more glue on this. I just stretched it over the top. I'm trying to be careful not to, because the glue will come through the pantyhose. So you have to be really careful not to burn yourself. Using something metal like a butter knife or the end of a scissor to press it down, the hot glue never sticks to metal. So having a butter knife when you're doing a lot of hot glue projects is a good idea. Which I do not have one right here, but I'm going to use my scissors. And just press on there. And then I don't have to worry about burning myself. And the cold of the scissor helps solidify the glue twice as fast. I don't know if you knew that or not. A friend of mine taught me that several years ago, and I forget when I'm doing projects. Let's see. So we're going to put that about right there, and I'm just going to glue it on. You can sew it on as well if you want. If you're selling it and you're concerned that it's going to pop off, which with all the silicone on there, I doubt it would. I usually just glue mine. So I'm going to get it where I want it, and I'm just going to press it down there and hold it. That seems to be Jan's favorite thing, is saying, and hold it. Does that come from Debbie from Paper Sweeties? Alright. Just want to make sure that that's on there, so I'm going to hold it for just another second. Hey Tina. I don't know if anybody else was on here that I missed earlier. Oh, I see Maritza. I see AAA. I see Ma Dukes. And Margarita. And Colleen. Sorry I missed everybody. I don't have my phone on comments, and I'm working my turkey. You gotta forgive me. Alright, I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. Just make a bead right across there. I'm gonna lay it down here. I could have made this batting a little bit thicker because the sticks are sort of sticking out a little. But I think it'll be alright in the end. When we put all of our silicone on, you probably won't see that. Alright. I'll put that in here. So I even have a, oops, I think I made a run in my hose. We hate that. Even, I was just going to say, with these control top hose, you hardly ever even get a run in this when you're doing it, but I think I just did. That's alright. Okay, so I'm going to cut this part off. You don't want to have a lot of loose pantyhose around because it just creates clumps. And then when you go to smooth on the silicone finish, it sort of makes clumps. And turkeys typically aren't too clumpy. Sometimes you get the humps and bumps and stuff in the skin as it's baking, but all in all, they're not a very bumpy creature. They are when they're alive, but they're not when they're deceased. Should be using my scissors. So who thinks they're going to make one of these for Thanksgiving? Amaze your family and friends. Had a lot of people make this last year. I kept getting text or messages and stuff. People were making it for their company office parties as like a joke and different things. I love it when people send me pictures of things that they make that I made. I love it. Makes me think that I'm actually doing my job right. I'm showing somebody something useful. Alright. So, I want to make sure that I get this fairly straight with the other one. So he is just about to the back. So I'm going to get a good amount of glue on there. Alright. I'm going to stand him up, I think. Just oh, that's how I burned myself last time. Alright. I have a lot of glue on me now. Deborah, you're going to try? That's awesome. You're going to have to send me pictures. Alright, I need to get all these glue boogers off of here. Gosh. get hot glue off your clothes. You probably don't. That's all right. All right. So there is the base of the turkey. Now typically what I do, I usually make some fake stuffing to go right here, and I just make that out of clay, but I do that, you know, a long time after everything is all fixed. But I usually tie the legs together before I put the silicone on. You don't have to. Definitely not a necessity, but sometimes it's just easier. You can actually do it sort of either way. If you rubber band them together now and you put all of your silicone on, then it dries in that stationary state that you want. And I think this leg is fluffier than my other leg. So I think I'm going to put the fluffier one over the top of this one. And I'm going to grab, I just use rubber bands for these. This is a really big rubber band, but I'm going to try it anyway. It's going to take me a lot of going around here. So I'll wrap it a couple of times around each leg. Kind of like that. And then I'll wrap it, oh, and it broke. Well, that's not good. I'll wrap it around the whole thing. Let's see if I have another rubber band. I do. I have a better one. Let me get rid of this. This one's better. Okay, fluffy over the top. So if you have one leg that's bigger than the other, like I do, you might want to put that one over the top. You can use the, if you have a white pastry bag clip, you can use that, like one of those bands from the pastry bags. You can use that as well. I'm going to sort of try and manipulate some of this on his leg so that they look a little more even. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so now you need to get messy. You're going to need parchment paper out the wazoo for this. I usually use a couple of pieces at a time, just because it's a bigger item. So I need a big surface to put him on. So you're going to need something to, I don't think I need to do that anymore. Something to mix some silicone in. Clear silicone is, you can use the white for this. It really doesn't matter. I use clear sort of on everything, so that's what I'm going with today. But you can use the white silicone on this as well. You will need a lot of it. So if you're going to buy the squeeze tubes, you'll probably have to buy, gosh, 5 or 6 of them probably. Because I have the industrial size tubes here, and I'll use at least a whole tube just on one turkey. So I don't know how many of these are in the squeeze tubes. This is 10 ounces in one of these. I'm not sure what the squeeze tubes are, but you probably need 5 or 6 of them, I would say. You also need something to stir it with, and you need some, I'm going to get my plastic knife. I use a plastic knife for this. If you have a, hi Brenda, if you have a silicone coated popsicle stick like you use for resin, that's perfect for this. Anything like, you know, like a plastic spatula with this silicone is your better bet. Your paint colors, you want to stay sort of like a yellowish brown, sort of like a curry color. My daughter calls this my curried turkey, because that's kind of the color of it. It's more yellow than brown, but there's some brown hues. So I always say when I'm coloring food, I use several different tones, several different layers of different colors. I start with the lightest on the bottom and then gradually go darker and darker, and then if I'm trying to get something to look baked or broiled or anything like that, the darkest colors are just a little bit accented on the very top. So you'll want to start with your lightest, always start with your lightest colors first, which in the case of a turkey, if you look at pictures on Pinterest or Google or whatever of cooked roasted turkeys, you'll find some that, and you can actually see the different colorations in the crust of the skin and stuff. And the one that you see all the way to the base of it is sort of like this color. So this color is a mix of some yellow paint and some sort of a light tannish yellow color. It's an ochre. It's a yellow ochre. This one from Amsterdam is the one that I've been using. It's a pretty decent ochre. It's a little more on the brown side than the yellow side. This is a cadmium yellow medium. This is a Liquitex color. Does not have to be either one of these paints. A yellow and a tan or a yellow and an ochre are totally fine. Just use more of the yellow than the tan. You just want to, like I said, the color of curry is a really good representation. So if you have any curry powder in the house, you can set that on your table and you can say, okay, this is the color I need. So what you're going to do is drop things on the floor. What you're going to do is you're going to put some silicone in your cup. And then, I don't know if you've worked with silicone before, but it dries pretty quickly. So you'll have to do this in stages. You also have to do one side of the turkey, let it dry completely, like overnight. Then flip it over and do the whole other side of the turkey and let that dry. Then after a couple of days, then you can go in and paint. I did my turkey probably 10 days ago. You don't have to wait that long. But what I do, I have a table over here that has a big fan blowing all the time because I do things in big volume and I need things to dry fast. So I put things under a fan, which you can totally do to dry your silicone. So I usually do the bottom side first. I'll slather the whole bottom side and I will take this thing over and I'll put it under the fan. About 4 hours later, I can do the top side. So I can get one done in one whole day using the fan. And then a couple of days later, and when it's completely set and I'm comfortable with everything, then I'll go in and paint, which we're going to do to that one in just a few minutes. So, like I said, you want to do this in stages since silicone dries pretty quick. So I won't make up more than like 7 ounces. I have this cup with these little gradients on it. You don't have to use that. Just a regular. I'm gonna have to switch out my cylinder here. I figured I was almost empty. I have another one waiting to go. I planned ahead. This is a great tool if you do a lot of silicone work and you don't like squeezing the thing with your hand. I have pretty nasty arthritis, so I like to just squeeze it and let it go. But I'll make a cup, you know, one of these little, and you can use just a regular plastic, like a Solo cup or whatever. Maybe don't fill a Solo cup all the way to the top, because that's a lot of silicone, and you don't want it to get dry on you before you want to use it. put this one up here. So I've got about, I guess I've got about 6 ounces in there. Knocking everything over. I don't know how much paint is left in here. And I'm going to use primarily the yellow. And this is a pretty deep yellow color. I like it. It's sort of like a, almost like a sunset yellow. It's a pretty color. It's got a little gold hue to it. And then I'm going to use just a little of this ochre. Like just a little bit. Because the darker color will overtake your lighter color when you're mixing it in things. So you definitely don't want to use too much of the darker color. So you want to start mixing that. And make sure that you scrape your sides and go all the way to the bottom and get all of that mixed up. And you see, just that little bit of brown overtook that yellow quite a bit. And you want to make sure that if you're using a solo cup, you're not going to be able to see to the bottom. So you need to make sure that you're scraping around there because there's a lot of clear that's down there. So you make sure that you get all of that mixed in. And then working pretty quickly, so I'm going to turn this over because I want to do the bottom side first. This is where our big seam is and all that. So I'm going to start back there and I'm just going to press pretty hard and smooth. I want to get that surface as smooth as I can to mimic the skin. I don't want a lot of ripples or ridges or gloop marks or any of that. Don't go over the silicone multiple times if you don't have to. I need to go over the seam area a little bit more and probably go the other direction. But once you get it down there, you need to leave it alone because the more you go over it, the more you're going to get those marks and it's not going to be smooth. You will get this on you. You should wear gloves. Yeah. You should wear gloves. You should protect your clothing, protect your surfaces. Silicone is nasty. It's smelly. If you need to get it off of something, if you need to get it off your clothes, use some potent strength alcohol very quickly. If you need to get it off your skin, use alcohol and then wash really well. It's very sticky. Make sure you don't get it on your jewelry. And I'm doing this toward me instead of toward you. Just see how you want to keep it very smooth. So I don't want to go back and pull on this anymore. Even though I have this little ridge here, I don't want to pull on it because it's going to make a bunch of funky bumps. And you don't want that. So you need to do this in like quick, smooth strokes here. And get it in all the grooves. Like that. And you'll want to go in your wing areas and pull it down in there. You want to sort of make a paste that sort of connects your wing to the body of the turkey so that you don't see such a big hole in there. I mean, I know there is because, you know, it's a separate part of the turkey, but covering it up in a fake one, the more you can do that, the more realistic it's going to look, believe it or not. If that makes sense. Sometimes you just have to create the illusion and it makes it better looking. So let me see if I can do this looking over here. So I'm going to sort of maybe. I'm going to grab him underneath, manhandle this turkey. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to bring that up in some smooth strokes. Like that. And I'm not going to worry. See, I just made bumpies here because I went back over it. I just said not to do that. I'm not too worried about this area because I'm going to put the fake stuffing on him later. But I still want to get it on there pretty decent. And now he looks a little bit crooked. I think that's the way that I bound him. So I'm going to get over here and pull this down. I'm going to do this other leg over here. Now this is pretty dry, what I just took out of here. And I'm at the bottom of my cup. I'm just trying to make this as smooth as I can, all the way to the end. So that 7 ounces almost did the bottom of the turkey. Almost. Still have some parts of the wing and a little bit of the leg. So that's, you know, like I said, I don't know how much is in the squeeze tubes, but you'd probably need, I'd say 5 or 6. Maybe not that much. I mean, you might want to look at how many ounces are in the squeeze tube. So for these plastic sticks, all I do is take some alcohol and a paper towel to clean them. So I got some on my hands too because I'm not wearing gloves. But the alcohol takes the silicone right off. Especially if you get it off fairly quickly and don't let it dry. But you can clean up your tools very quickly and easily. And then you don't have to waste a bunch of popsicle sticks. Nothing really sticks to these plastic ones. So if you have any kind of, or can get any kind of plastic spatula, that's sort of the thing to use on this. So I'm going to leave this alone for right now, and because that's basically it. To that point, that's basically it. You would do the whole one side, you would let it dry, and then go back the next day, do the same thing on the other side, let it dry completely. Make sure you cover the ends of his drumsticks with a little bit on there. Make sure you cover the wings and seal them in good to the body. And then you will have something like this. Move him over there. Get another parchment paper here. Until these guys are painted, they do stay a little bit on the sticky side. I mean, none of the stuff comes off, but they sort of stick to stuff. So you have to be careful until they're all painted up. So for the paint, for this, you're going to use several different tones of brown and a little bit of red. So I even use as far as the burnt umber, which is like the chocolate. I know I have a half hour. I still have to paint this thing. I'm good, Marie. I'm going to use some more of the ochre, which is the yellowish tan. I'm going to use some raw sienna, which is a sort of a reddish brown almost. I'm going to use the burnt umber, and I'll probably use a little bit of, I don't see it, Oh, there it is. A little bit of burnt sienna, which is the reddish brown, the red brown. I'll use all of those to paint this guy. I'll use a combination of a flat brush. This one is like a 3/4 inch. It's a very soft brush, and I can use it for sort of pouncing as well as painting. For the most part, I like to use these makeup sponges, the non-porous makeup sponges on things like this. Just makes it a lot easier, and you don't have to worry at all about the brush strokes. So you want to make sure if you're using a makeup sponge, wet it a little bit. You need to make sure you've got some water. I always keep 2 pots of water on my desk. One is rinse water to get all the paint off, and the other one one is wash water to get all the paint off. The other one is rinse water to make sure that everything is clean. So I use a tile surface for my desk, which I put paint on a lot. So I'm going to use it as my palette today. I'll keep my paints over here. So I'm just going to make 4 blobs of paint. I'm not going to get too much of this one, the burnt umber, because that's just a topping. Probably get more of this raw sienna than anything. And then just a little bit of this burnt sienna. Oh, and that one went off camera. But it's there, I promise. So I have a wet, well, not wet, it's damp makeup sponge. So I'm going to start with my lightest color, which is the ochre, and I just dabbed a little on here, and then I'm going to start making a space here that has colorants on it. And I'm going to take a little bit of the sienna and put it next to it. And I'm just going to sort of smush those sort of together to make a new color. And then you have to, it's best to have a picture of a turkey in front of you, which I do now. I have it pulled up on my phone over here. Let me show you the turkey that I found. This is the, you can see that. I just Googled a picture of a roasted turkey, and that's what it gave me. So I'm going to kind of follow along. I'm going to start with the wing, and I just lightly pounce on some paint. If you have a paint airbrush machine, you can do this with an airbrush. You just have to make sure that you don't drip, because it is silicone, and if you put on too much liquidy paint like what comes out of an airbrush machine, it can drip on here, and you definitely don't want that. Now this process takes a little bit of time. It does for me, because when it comes to painting, I feel like I have to get it right. But I start with the lightest colors, and I just kind of boop it on there all around, and then I'll go to a different section and I'll just start putting it on there. And then in the raised areas, where you can see from the pictures, the raised areas have that more cooked appearance to it. So those are going to get the darker colors. But what you need to start with first is basically another base color. So you're going to have to boop the whole turkey. I'm not going to do the bottom today, because I will run out of time. But your silicone is your base color. But then the first coat of paint that you put on here is going to be basically a real base color. And I'm not sure that you see, it sticks to everything. Come on, get off there. You see how I'm doing? I'm changing the color, and I'm adding some brown to it. You can't actually see it very well on there, but I think you'll be able to see it better in a minute once I cover up all this yellow. So I'm going to speed it up a little. And you're just going to take from your paint pile, you're going to make a new pile and do it that way. That way you're not going to overload the paint anywhere. So I hope this is making sense. Are you picking up what I'm dropping here? Or are you saying, no, Andy, this doesn't make any sense? We have no idea what you're talking about. Can you see the differentiations in the colors or no? I think it's my lighting. It's hard to see. It's picking up more of the underneath color than what I'm putting on the top. Whoops. It's best to wear a glove when you're doing this too. And I'm going all the way around the legs here, all the way to the end. We're going to darken the very tips of the legs here to make them look, because you know when you tie up chicken or turkey legs or anything like that, they get almost blackened in the cooking process. Let's get some more of this paint up here. Do this other wing. Now I have to squish down in here to get that part that's in between the body and where the wing begins. And then always this back part of the turkey back here always gets very dark. So you're going to want to make that darker than anything. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of this red and a little bit of that really dark, the burnt umber. And I'm going to make a sort of like a burnt color with that. Not really burnt, cooked, roasted. And I'm going to go along here. It's also best to let these colors dry in between applications. But we don't have time for that. We're just going with it. These blenders here are really nice though, because they don't, if you need to pick the paint back off of the turkey, you can. I just left fingerprints on top of them. That was smart. Oh goodness. Let's see. So you see how much darker that's getting now? Looks more roasted. So that's the combination of the, let me get it right, burnt sienna and the burnt umber makes that color. And you just need to take them each and make a new color and blend it up on your blender here. And that color will go along the top of the turkey as well, and around the raised parts of his legs where it'll get more roasted. And on the tops of his wings, I think, you'll see that roasted color. See, so the more you do it, the more roasty he becomes. It's just you can't do it fast. You just have to do these things slowly until you get the color that you want. So when I come down to, let's spin them around again. When I come down to the ends of the wings and I have these darker colors here, I'll grab those and just sort of, because my little booper here is saturated with the paint, I can sort of grab them and really just wipe that paint around them to make them look darker. But you can take a brush, or you can take this and you can just put that color right on the ends and make them look pretty naturally cooked. Because when bone gets in the oven like that, it gets very dark. Down for a second. Kind of more like that. See how you darken the ends of that? And I just keep going with that darker color over the top of the medium color that we already used to create a new layer. And I mean, this is how you paint, you know, as a painter, this is how you paint. You start with lighter colors in the layers and you get darker as you go on. You do the same thing when you're making fake food. Life has many layers of colors. It's in your food, it's in your trees, it's in everything that you look at. There's layers and layers of beautiful colors. I kind of sound like Bob Ross now, don't I? Is this a happy little turkey? It's a happy little turkey. I guess he's not happy anymore. He's cooked. But I'm happy when I eat turkey. I love turkey. Actually, I like the turkey stuffing. We call it stuffing. Some people call it dressing. I like stuffing. I'm a stuffing hound. If I can just have a bowl of stuffing, I will forego the turkey. Stuffing and sweet potatoes. My two favorite Thanksgiving treats. Let's see if we can get this a little darker right here. It just keeps lifting. It needs to dry. So if your color keeps lifting off, like I have this one place right there, the color keeps lifting. I keep trying to put the darker color back on there, and it'll just keep lifting off. Wait until it dries, because sometimes it gets ahead of itself. I'm going fast, and I'm not letting this dry in between layers, so it'll start to lift off. And if that happens, just stop or take a hair dryer. Very low temp hair dryer. You don't want to melt your silicone, but you want to do, just a little bit at a time. So then when you get to the point where you really like what he looks like, I'm a mess now. There is some stuff in a spray can. Now you don't have to use this, but it actually makes a really cool effect on here. It's called Glossy Wood Tone. I think it comes in different colors. I've seen it in like walnut and oak and different things. This one just says Glossy Wood Tone. So I'm not sure what wood tone exactly is. It smells awful. Make sure you've got a window open or you do this outside. Definitely don't do this in a closed up area. And if you want to darken the feet, you can just use a brush, any brush that you have, and just take a little bit of that burnt umber and just brush it right on the very tips of these bone areas here. And it'll make them look a little more toasty. But for this wood tone, pretty neat. I don't want to spray this all over the place. I'm going to try and do this place in the back. But you see how different he looks with just one coat of the paint on here. You'll have to do a few different coats, a few different tones to get it the way that you want. And then the very top you're going to want to do more in that red, more of the red than the brown, just to make it look, you know, ultra toasty. Let's see, where can I spray this? I'm going to see if I can spray it sort of up here toward the leg just a little bit to show you what it does. Spray the wing too. Alright. So with the addition of that glossy wood tone, you see how now it looks. You see what that did? It makes it look that much more cooked, like it was really cooked in an oven. You see the around the wing there? I didn't do the bottom of the wing, but see what that does? It not only makes it glossy, but it makes it look cooked. So it's pretty cool when you use it on fake meats like this in the very end. You don't want to really do this until you're done with everything else. But this is just, it's by Design Master, and it's just called Glossy Wood Tone. Like I said, it smells pretty bad, so you want to use it in a well-ventilated area. I found it on Amazon. I think they do make some other colors, but this is, I guess Glossy Wood Tone is a color. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, that's what I do when I'm completely finished with everything and I'm liking the way that everything looks and how it turned out. I think it looks, you know, natural according to the pictures and all that. When it's all completely dry, I will take it out and I'll give it just a once over here and there and in specific places with this glossy wood tone. And that's how I typically finish it off. So, I mean, it's a few day project for sure. You know, just getting it all stuffed together and then the one side siliconed, and then you need to kind of wait until the next day to do the other side and silicone that, and then wait a couple of days and then paint. But after you get it all done, I mean, you've got this thing forever. And honestly, it's not much heavier than a football. You can actually throw it around like a football because it's squishy and sort of feels like a football. It feels like a football with not so much air in it. So, I mean, it's kind of weird, but, you know, it's very lightweight, you know, kind of a cool little project. So if you're looking for something interesting and different this Thanksgiving, you just think if you had this on your display table and your family came over, and wouldn't that be interesting? Or like I said, people were doing it for office parties last year, and I thought that was pretty amazing. But apparently it was a big hit. So I hope you'll try this and send me pictures, because I love getting pictures of what everybody does. I like seeing that you're liking what I do, because I mean there's no sense in me doing this if you don't like what I do. So I want to make sure that I'm doing the content that you want to see. And that being said, if you happen to want to see something that I haven't done yet, or even if I have done and you want to see it again, or you want to see something in more detail, just message me and ask me. I'm always racking my brain trying to think of, what do I do? What do I do? What do you think they want to see now? So if you have ideas, or there's things that you want to know how to do, please let me know, because I will do it. I wasn't actually going to do this turkey today. I was going to do something else, and then I thought, you know what? I'm doing the turkey. So I asked Miss Marie if I could have an extra half hour before bedtime, and she said yes. So thank you, Marie, for indulging me in my turkey. I appreciate it. So I'm just going to keep on keeping on here, painting layer by layer, and then, like I said, in the very end, I'll go over it with this glossy wood tone. And after that, there's really nothing else that you need to do. You can seal it again with a clear acrylic sealer, just to be on the safe side if you're shipping it somewhere. So, but other than that, I don't think I even sealed mine last year. I may have, but I don't remember. I know I sent out several of them last year. So, and I'm hoping somebody buys the ones that I have so far this year. I know we've had a lot of people asking. But basically, that is it. You can buy platters that fit these guys. I bought a bunch of them at Dollar Tree. They have some cute Thanksgiving turkey platters, and that's a really neat thing to display. I usually put like grapes and stuff around mine just to sort of zhuzh it up a little bit. But it's cute. I like him. He's my friend. Alright, so that's about all I got for you today. I will post some pictures of this after I get it all glossed and everything and show you what I did. I will post this video up on YouTube and have the finished product in the thumbnail and all that. So if anybody has any questions, you can message me. And you need a recipe for royal acing, huh? Yeah, that one's not too difficult at all. It's just the clear silicone with quite a bit of glossy Mod Podge and some, I usually use food coloring for mine because it just colors more vibrantly than paint. Spray in a little alcohol if it's still too thick, or add a little more Mod Podge to make it runny, and then you can pipe your outline and pipe it right in. You do have to use it fairly quickly, but not too bad. I can try and do a video on that. I think I've done one before. You might want to check my YouTube. I might have done one before on that. But other than that, let's join Miss Marie at Great Creations Faux Cupcakes and see what she's making today. And until next time, which will be tomorrow, I've got a live sale tomorrow morning. But until next time, I will see you guys later. Thanks for joining me. Bye.